Hi everybody, welcome back. This is part 2 of this John Deere LA 115. I'm going to be replacing the drive belt and pulleys on this. Here's some of the part numbers on those pulleys. Replaces this. This one doesn't say John Deere, but they said this fits. And we've got our new belt here. Underneath here, let me find where I laid my flashlight. You can see how dried up and cracked up this belt is. And I don't know if you can see, but the top rib on this pulley sticking out is gone. Well, it jumped. It's off the transmission back here. If I can get you back here to see, it come off the transmission back here. Now there's a pin that unthreads back there that's supposed to keep that pulley, the belt on that pulley. I've got to take that off to get the new belt around that pulley. And then up here in the front, I don't know, see if I can get you to where you can see, there's a guard that goes around that keeps that one on. I've got to take those two bolts out to get that off. So that's how that comes off. Alright, there's not really a good place I can lay y'all, so I'm just going to put you directly under and you can see what you can see. These are 15 millimeter. I'm just going to start up on the front here. It doesn't look like it's really an order of operation that you really have to follow on which end you start at, but I'm just going to start up here because these look easier to get to than that pin on the transmission, and I'll fight with that later. Looks to be 2 bolts. There might be one hiding. Nope, it's falling off. And this tractor's really greasy. This one had a bad oil leak. Now, of course, you have to take the deck off if your deck is on. You get this far. And this belt should come down off that pulley, and then once it's loose on the other end, I should be able to fish it around all this mess down here. Should. We might have to take more off. Not sure yet. Never done one of these. Okay. Back here to the pulleys. These appear to both be also 15 millimeter. There it goes. An impact would probably work better for this. Find some way to hold that in place while you break those loose. But I'm under here. I'm not getting up to figure out how to do that. You can see that pulley right there where it's supposed to have another one of these on this side. Oh, that's free. It actually looks like I'm going to have to pull the steering wheel too. I just seen this. That belt goes around that. So I'm going to have to figure out what we're going to have to do here to get that steering shaft out. I'm hoping I can just take this nut off down here at the bottom and pull it straight up. So we're going to go ahead and do that real quick. I'm hoping with how greasy this thing is under here. That just falls off. And it does. All right, we're in business. You never get that lucky working on cars. I'm gonna put that bushing back down in there before it decides it wants to run off. I imagine these are a replaceable part here. Now for the pin in the back. Now I don't have a way for you all to really see what I'm doing. It's hidden up there. Just know that there's a pin up there and I'll let you know what wrench size it is. Alright, I got it broke free, so it's a 15 millimeter. And it's hiding up here. This has the Tough Torque hydrostat transmission in it. And these are supposed to be serviced from time to time. A lot of times when the fluids don't get changed on these, they won't pull very well. So they have to be gone through, cleaned out, new fluid and everything put in them. These fans on top of them are real common to break too. Okay, there's that pin, and that's just to keep the belt on the pulley. Now I should be able to fish this belt around and get it out. Come down here around this and feed it around through here. And there's the belt. You can see how, look here, it's absolutely chewed up. That ain't no good for nothing. I'll throw all that crap aside. I'll probably clean some of the grease off that so it's a little nicer to work with. Alright, we're going back in with our new drive belt here. I think I'm gonna just do the reverse of what we did. Hopefully that works out. Let me get my light up here. I'm sliding it up in here. Reach it up in here. Pull it down. I'm not sure if this new belt's gonna make it through here or not. It looks like it is. Come on. Maybe. That one's closer. That's why I don't know if this one's bent in or if that one's bent in, but bent out. That's why that don't want to fit there. Let's see. I might be able to coerce that back a little. Maybe use my wrench and do it. There. We can put that belt up here-ish, and then bring it back. Bring her light back here. All right. Get it around this fan here. These blades are flexible, so you can you can bend on them a little bit. There it is. If I can get it up on the pulley, we'll be doing all right. Okay, it's up on that pulley. So I'm gonna get it on the front pulley, and then we'll put our little guards back on. All right, we got our guard there on. So
thanks for telling me my packages came.
oh, sorry. We were towing this up under here when they showed up. All right, we got our belt back on the front pulley here. So I'm gonna reinstall this guard. Let's see. Get the bolt started. Where'd that other one go? There it is. Alright, that's back on. Now we'll put our pin on, back here. Find where the hole is. Right there. Okay. Get it started a few threads. Can't. I could see this probably being pretty easy to get cross-threaded if you're not careful, that belt pushing against it and the housing it going in being aluminum. I think we're going straight. Maybe. Maybe not. it wants to cock over there to the side. That started with my fingers. Seems like it's going. Probably the most tedious part about this job here is this. Doesn't have much access to get to it. You gotta keep flipping the wrench too, which sucks. We're getting tight now. Alright. Now for the pulleys. There's a wide pulley and a skinny pulley. This is to run on the back side of a belt. This is to run on the inside of the belt. So, let's see here if I can get that up in there. You're gonna be stubborn, aren't you? Says, yeah, of course I am. There we go. Sort it, kind of get up on there. There you go. Let's put that nut on so I don't end up falling off. We have to start over, you know. Make sure that turns. Okay, this one here is the there we go. That's on. Alright, now what I'm going to do is straighten up these wheels. Where they look like they're relatively straight with the tractor. And then drop the steering wheel back down in there to where it's relatively straight, and then we'll put the gear on. It's not going to be perfect, but it's a lawnmower. that to where it keys on and steering wheel still straight. Are you kidding me? You put up that much of a fight going on there and you're just gonna fall off. That on there. Steering's pretty worn on this. It's alright that it's turning. There we go. Alright. Now, it should be relatively straight with the mower. It's not exactly straight, but that's alright. Oh, parking brake. Forgot it's one of these new mowers. Break off. You make it hard to test stuff. Is the seat switch. Call that a win. Alright, before we take off driving on this thing, I'm going to shoot a little grease in the grease fittings here on the front. I've only found the 4. There's that one. And then we got some here hiding on the tires. Alright. See how it does.
not too bad. Okay, today we're doing the head gasket. That's 19.5 horse John Deere. Symptoms of a bad head gasket is it's blowing smoke out the exhaust. You have oil loss coming out of the fuel pump back here. It'll come out of this vent and be puddling up down here. And if you take this out with the engine running, there'll be a lot of smoke and pressure coming up out of there. I'm not used to working on the overhead valve engines. When I got this mower here, the crankcase was overfilled with oil and the breather tube was off. And I just changed the oil and got the oil at the correct level, put the breather tube back on, and sitting there running, it seemed fine. But after I got it up and running and riding around and everything, after I got the drive belt and stuff on it, it was obviously something more was wrong with it. I'm going to probably start by pulling this cover. I'm thinking I can leave this exhaust on here and slip the head out this way around it. This carburetor, the intake and everything's probably going to have to at least come loose to where I can do that. But the first thing we're going to do is take this off. I already took the hood off. There's 4 10mm bolts to remove it at its hinge. These look like they're 10mm. It looks like there's supposed to be one here. It's missing. Looks like there's one here. And one here behind this hose on the fuel pump. Okay, we got our cover off here. Ended up taking the fuel pump loose too. This bottom bolt here is kind of long. It's longer than the top one. So remember that's the bottom, this is the top. These bolts also ended up being 3/8. I said they were 10mm earlier. So I think take these out here first. And then we'll take our valve cover. Of course, the spark plug boot's got to be pulled off. These are Allen heads. These might be kind of a booger to get out. Might have to end up heating these up using some sort of extractor or vice grips maybe on this one to get those loose. I'm hoping they're not too seized in there. 4 bolts on the valve cover, 2 bolts here. And then we can get in there and see what we've got to do as far as pulling the head. Okay, we've got our valve cover off. We can get to these valves. Look like they're probably about the right tolerance. Let me spin the engine over here and see if I can get them both. That one feels a little tight at top. I believe if you loosen these up, you'll throw your clearance off. And you have to have a feeler gauge to check that. I don't have a feeler gauge here at the house. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these bolts without loosening these and get these push rods out of here with the head loose. And then when I bolt everything back together, our clearance will still be the same. This is what to do if you do not have feeler gauges or anything like that. You can go get a feeler gauge, find out your specification, find out what these are supposed to be set at. Honestly, this kind of feels tight, but the engine ran perfectly, so I'm not going to mess with that. The only thing I've got left to do here is pull these out, and then we'll get our head loose, and that'll allow us to loosen this up where we can get these push rods out. Okay, I got the exhaust off, and I wasn't expecting this, but this just pulls out of here. I'm not sure if that's how that's supposed to be, but that's what it did. It just pulled right out, which is different to me. I'm used to working on old equipment. So all we've got to do now is pull these off, and then, like I said, we're going to leave these adjusted, and just when we torque my head back down and everything, make sure everything's lined up the way it's supposed to be, and there should be no problems. All right, we're getting our last bolt out now. These head bolts are also 3/8. That one there, I just put it there so it wouldn't fall. Okay, should just lift right off there. You can see the back side of her head here. They have an aluminum push rod on these. This one's wearing through where it rides against the guide. You can replace these aluminum push rods with the steel one that they have on the exhaust port, and that's probably what we're going to wind up doing. Is I'm going to get a push rod for this. I was afraid I was going to find that in here, that push rod was going out. But we'll just set this head to the side here. Right here's where these blow. We can get this gasket off here, and I'll show you. See the dark? See how that's dark right there? It's combustion gases. You can see right there on the gasket where the gaskets blew out. And we'll have to clean all this old gasket material off here. Reinstall the new gasket. The engine looks pretty clean inside though, which is a good sign. Some grass and stuff. Okay, I'm just going to stuff a rag. I got an old microfiber that I don't use on the cars anymore. I'm just going to stuff it in here the best I can. Keep dirt and stuff from getting in there. And I'm going to lightly remove this gasket material. You do not want to score this up any more than possible. I'm just getting the worst of it off with this, and then I'll probably go around and clean it up very lightly with a wire brush or piece of steel wool. I do not want to use a buffing wheel or anything on this and put any low spots or anything on the surface. That'd be the same with the head. Just clean up the big pieces of the gasket material with a scraper and lightly clean up the remaining of the residue and stuff on the head with something very lightly abrasive. Don't want to get too carried away with it. You don't want to dig into this material if you don't have to. You'll want to pay special attention around these alignment studs too. I'm going to take my push rods out here and just lay them up here. Probably what I'm going to do so this mower can get immediately back in service. It's not exactly a proper technique, but I'm going to flip this so it doesn't continue to wear down this push rod here. This push rod still feels pretty solid. A lot of times they'll wear down and they'll break. I'm going to flip it around so it'll wear down on a new spot. We'll know about it, and we'll put a new push rod in it later. We'll clean up the head here. Same way. Try not to dig into the material of the head. You don't have to, don't do it. We'll check the head with a flat edge. A good sign too to check while you're in here is try to spin the valves with your fingers. That one spun a little bit on the exhaust side. You shouldn't be able to do that. That's also a sign this engine needs a valve job. But a little bit on the intake. We're not going to get into that either. This is a quick and dirty. This is quick and dirty. We got to get this mower running. This mower's been down for too long. The owner's yard is knee high. We just ran into problems. I'm going to clean this head up with diesel fuel and a brush, get all this grease and stuff off of it. I have a bucket of diesel fuel here with a brush. Just going to set that head down in there to soak for a little bit. Take my brush out. We'll clean all the junk and stuff off of it with that. Okay, we got steel wool here. I'm going to start trying to clean up this head a little bit with steel wool. Like I said, you can use a wire brush, but whatever you use, the less abrasive the better. It's going to take longer to clean it, but you'll be left with a surface that's better than if you use a more aggressive technique. Okay, I'm going to throw this out here too. Be careful not to lose these. When I took this out of the solution, the diesel fuel, I was cleaning it and I realized one of these was missing. This one fits a little bit tighter than this one does. And it was laying down in my bucket. I had to fish it out with my magnet. But just keep that in mind when you're pulling this apart and everything. Watch where these go. Make sure they don't fall into your yard or in the floor of your garage or whatever. Alright, we're going back together with this. We're going to put our head gasket on. The alignment pins will hold it in place. Right there. Our push rods. I'm going to wipe the dirt off of them real quick with this rag. These don't oil through the ends of the push rods. They're not like a car push rod. what I'm going to do before I stick them in there is I'm going to put a little dab of this Lucas on it. You can use assembly lube or whatever. I don't have any assembly lube here, so I'm just using a little bit of Lucas. Just a little dab will do it. On each end, it's sticky, it stays in place. This is for the aluminum one, is for our intake valve. Your intake valve would be the top one, I believe. No, it's the bottom one. Here's your intake. Remember, I flipped this over. And we'll put our steel one for our exhaust back in. I'm just going to put it in the way it come out. Okay. I can sit that down for a second. Okay. We'll rotate the engine over by hand and make sure the valves are actuating properly. Get me another bolt here. Alright, I just hand tightened 3 bolts down loosely, and we're going to make sure our valves are operating before we tighten all of our head bolts in. And they are functioning. So that's good. Everybody's moving around. That doesn't look like that's a bad gap either. There should be a dab of Lucas down in here on both of them. And then I'll probably see if I can squirt some down in here. And that'll at least give that something to lubricate it until the oil gets up there. I'm gonna go ahead and finish putting the head. Alright, I got all the bolts ran in hand tight with a nut driver. Torque spec on these is 220 inch-pounds or 18 foot-pounds. So I'm just going to work my way around in kind of a star pattern slowly until I reach that torque spec. That spark plug's kind of in the way. Oh, I hit it there. I got a mosquito trying to nibble on my ear. Hit it there. Oh, let's go to this one. Hit it there. Hit it there. 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 I'm going to go back to this middle one here, which would have been pretty close to it. And then I'm going to go around them all again and make sure there's no fluke. turned a little. That one turned a little. I'm gonna go to this one. Barely turned. Turned a little. Turned a little bit. Turned a little bit. Since they all turned a little bit, I'm gonna go one more time. That gasket's mushing. No turn. No turn. Maybe just a hair. Maybe just a hair. Alright, those are all torqued. Alright, now we can go on to putting our valve cover back on. I got to clean it up still. We can put the exhaust on and the intake and everything. Hook the spark plug back up and should be able to fire it up and see how it runs. Alright, now the paint's dry on the bottom side here. I got 2 coats of yellow on it. I'm going to sharpen up these blades a little bit. They're not in terrible shape. This one here has one little nick in it, or 2. But other than that, the blades look like they're in really good shape. I'm just going to run my drill-driven little sharpener on it. These work fine if the blades are not in bad shape, but if they're extremely dull, they don't work very good. Do this side. Okay, I went over all these. They're a lot better. I do see people do this all the time. You don't have to really worry about these nicks. They will grind on these blades until those nicks disappear. Most of your cutting is actually done with the first couple inches of the blade. When you got nicks back here, they don't really affect the cutting. And another thing to remember is these don't have to be at a knife point. In fact, putting them to a knife point makes them get dull and rounded much quicker. When you buy a new set of blades, they're kind of blunt on the end. They shouldn't cut you or anything like that. If you sharpen these to a knife similar to a knife point, they're going to dull within probably the first 15-30 minutes of mowing your yard. They're supposed to be kind of blunt. These are spinning extremely fast, and all they're doing is cutting grass. They just don't have to be that sharp. In fact, a lot of people are mowing their lawn with extremely dull blades and don't even realize it because the grass still cuts just fine. The only difference is really between dull blades and sharp blades is the way it cuts your grass. Grass cut with a sharp blade will have more of a clean cut through the top of it. When it's dull, you'll see tears in the grass. So a sharp blade helps keep your grass healthier. Another thing I wanted to point out is when you're under here on your mower checking the blades and stuff like that, there's a couple ways to check for bent blades. With a dual blade mower or a 3-blade, run your blades to where they're here. These points should be close together. I would say maximum 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch difference is all I would want to do in variation. Bring your points together. This one here is probably about 1/8 of an inch higher, so one of these blades has a slight deviation to it. 1/8 to 1/4 you're not going to notice in mowing your grass. Another way to do it, especially on like a single bladed mower, is find a point where this is and see if this one is the same. And if you do it this way and you find one's bent, that's a good way to find out which one is the one bent, is look at the point. And you'll find a different spot on different mowers, but see that one, how that one's lower? This difference could be the difference in maybe this deck has got a little twist or something in it. Or it's possible that this is kind of twisted right here where this sits, where that's at a down point, but they're pretty much even. I would say the deck and everything is still pretty good on this one. All right, now that everything's done underneath, I'm gonna start painting the top here. Get a coat on it before dark. I can get the second coat on it tomorrow. Check this dude out that come up here to visit. I'm sitting here painting on this mower deck and, well, this little guy here shows up. Has to be probably close to 5 foot long. Pretty cool. If anybody knows what kind of snake that is, drop it down in the comments. Okay, we're gonna reinstall this mower deck here now. The first thing I gotta do is hook this spring and cable back up. On this arm back here, there's a hole close to that pulley that spring hooks into. And then, of course, the cable locks into there. Okay, now that we got that cable on, the next thing I'm gonna do is feed this belt back around this pulley here. I wanna get, and you can do this before hooking that cable up, but you wanna get this done before attaching the deck to the mower, because you'll have a hard time trying to get that belt back around there with the deck hooked up. Okay. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is probably hook these arms here up. There's a nub there. These arms have to be forward when you slide it under the tractor. Just gotta get that lined up and on there. This tractor has a whole lot of mismatched hardware So I'm just working with what I got here. We're gonna put a washer on there and then just shove it all the way through and let it hang. Okay, there's one. We'll go do the other side the same way. I got the other side on, and this is my bad. I showed you on this belt wrong. Pull that back out of there. If we can. There we go. This goes over the top and in between here. Okay, now we're gonna hook this bar up down here, right there. And that one did not have any kind of washer on it. When I got it, and I've done looked through my pile, I don't have any that fit. Oh, all right. Now we have these adjusters that go on back here where I painted those holes. They don't want to quite fit. Yeah, they go in like that. So we'll drop this down. That's hard to do when you're laying on the ground. Dang thing spring loaded. Needs to go more. Alright. And then we're gonna have to pick up the deck to hook that up. Okay, that side there's on. And this is how you adjust down here to kind of fine tune your deck height from your manual adjustment. Alright, now everything's on it. The deck is going up and down like it should. Start it up. There goes our mower. It's working. Alright, now everything's working as it should. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. See y'all next time.